Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your great support always. I'm so grateful for your continued support to this channel. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Kenyans, what next after the 281 members of parliament impeached Rigathi GACHAGUA? I've seen some people saying that they are wishing Rigathi GACHAGUA well as he is heading to Madeira. But remember, Rigathi GACHAGUA might have another life. He might be rescued from the Senate. This is whatever is going to happen after these 281 members of parliament impeached Rigathi GACHAGUA. Now, number one, this impeachment motion is going to be taken to Senate for trial. And so the Speaker of the National Assembly is having 2 days to draft this impeachment motion to the Senate. And so then the Senate is going to have something called an impeachment trial. And this impeachment trial, the Speaker of the Senate will organize another sitting for another 7 days. Then after that, we are being told the representatives of the National Assembly will come to testify on behalf of the National Assembly. And so these representatives are going to be selected in the National Assembly to come and to present their allegations against the Deputy President before the Senate. Then after that, remember, we are going to have something called Fair Administration Action. This place is like now we are like in the court, So we are going to have evidence that has not been interrogated with a sworn testimony is going to be done at that place. Have you asked yourself, we had the evidence sworn with affidavits that were not presented but joined with the allegations of this impeachment motion of Rigathi GACHAGUA. And so the Senate is a place where we are going to have evidence that was not interrogated with a sworn testimony. And so this is going to be done before the Senate committee. And so the Senate will either decide 2 ways, to have 11-member committee or to do it as a Senate assembly. But if they decide that it is going to be 11-member committee, then all these issues are going to be interrogated there. Then the committee, after interrogating and having evidence, then they will decide and write a report to the Speaker of the Senate. Then after that, there are 2 ways there. If these 11 committee members will decide that this evidence does not have any ground to remove Rigathi GACHAGUA, they will not proceed to submit reports before the Speaker of the Senate. Rather, that interrogation will collapse there. Then impeachment motion will end at that point. But if this 11-member committee will decide that they have some allegations that, of course, have grounds of impeachment of Rigathi GACHAGUA, they will write a report before the Speaker of the Senate. Then the Speaker of the Senate will convene another house. Then that the time these senators will vote. And this voting will now send Rigathi GACHAGUA either home or reinstate Rigathi GACHAGUA as the Deputy President. So as we speak, Rigathi GACHAGUA has just been impeached, not removed from the office. I want you to listen to an inclusive details. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, remember, this procedure is going to take almost 10 days. So we are waiting another 10 days for this interrogation. But I want you to listen to another details, an inclusive details. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, just do me a favor, ensure you like the video. When you like the video, you automatically support the work that I'm doing in this channel, because sometimes you watch the video and you forget liking this video. So this is just a reminder. At the same time you watch the video, ensure you like the video. Let us listen to this inclusive details.
Impeachment motion now is taken to the Senate for the impeachment trial. They will be forced to try the deputy president on the counts as they were presented in the National Assembly.
And what's the next step now? Because, it's been quite a journey getting here, and obviously a dramatic one. So what happens next now, as we go to the Senate? Because he is still deputy president. Is he or isn't he? What's the terminology of where we are now?
He is still deputy president. It's just that he's been impeached.
Okay.
But he's still deputy president. He's not been removed.
Right.
So we have what you call impeachment trial. Within 2 days, the Speaker of the National Assembly has to forward that impeachment motion that has successfully passed. It's now an impeachment resolution. He has to forward it to the Senate. And within 7 days, the Speaker of the Senate has to organize a Senate sitting to start the process of processing the impeachment resolution of the National Assembly. When that happens, there will be representatives of the National Assembly who will present the case of the National Assembly to the Senate. So they will probably appoint a legal team, including some members of the National Assembly, who will now present the case to the Senate. Once the Senate sits to start considering the impeachment motion, the Constitution says that there will be a committee to be set up to inquire into the allegations. The qualitative difference between the process in the National Assembly and in the Senate is that in the National Assembly, it's what you call fair administrative action. Mm-hmm. The evidence is not interrogated through sworn testimony and cross-examination. You just present your evidence, and the members of the National Assembly, they get their 3 or 5 minutes to make comments about the evidence.
Right.
When you go to the Senate, it's quasi-judicial. It's like a court case. And that court proceeding, what you're calling quasi-judicial, is done by the committee of the Senate. So the first decision the Senate has to make is whether it will be a committee of 11 senators to handle that quasi-judicial process, or whether it will be a committee of the whole Senate.
Okay.
And we've seen in previous impeachments of governors, they have gone one way or the other.
Right.
And the anticipation is that in this case, they will want it to be a committee of the whole Senate. But when they become a committee, they then become like the quasi-judicial organ. Each party will present its witnesses, they will testify, they will be cross-examined by the other party. And at the end of that process, the committee of the Senate will then retreat and deliberate on the matter and determine by vote whether they support the impeachment resolution of the National Assembly. If they support the impeachment resolution, it will then be forwarded to the Senate, sitting as the Senate, for them to vote on it. In the event the committee does not support the resolution, less than a majority, then the resolution collapses at that stage. It doesn't go for the full vote of the Senate. So that's the process. And the process of the committee takes about 10 days. From the moment the committee is given the job of considering the evidence. There is no new public participation that is done at this stage of the Senate. It's quasi-judicial. It's almost like a court proceeding.
Right. Because, we heard of witnesses, but we didn't see them here. They, we heard of messages, WhatsApp messages, and persons who were involved, but we didn't hear from them. So we will then hear from them at the Senate level, which is a trial, right?
There were 3 witnesses who swore affidavits as part of Honorable Mutuse's motion. and the affidavits were attached as part of the annexures to the impeachment motion. And in the response of the Deputy President, I believe there are also some affidavits that were attached to his response to the impeachment motion. So that is the current situation. But in the Senate now, they will actually come and testify on oath. And we've seen that in the case of other Senate proceedings of impeachment of governors.
Yeah, Diana, before we come to you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what will happen after this impeachment of the National Assembly. I've seen some people are saying why I was saying that Rigathi Gachagua is likely to survive. I told you very clear. Sijui kama mlielewa statement yangu. I said that Rigathi Gachagua is likely to survive if these members of parliament are going to consider the public participation. Because what you saw presented before the National Assembly was their own public participation, planned and recorded. But in real sense, the public participation rejected this impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. Again, I told you, Rigathi Gachagua was not going to survive if these members of parliament were going to take this power on their hands. And the way they did it, and that is what they have done. So we are waiting the decision of the Senate. Is this going to be the same? Or is Senate going to redeem Rigathi Gachagua and reinstate him as the Deputy President? Because remember, Rigathi Gachagua has not been removed. He is still the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. The trial is continuing at the Senate. Then the Senate will seal that fate, if they are removing Rigathi Gachagua or not. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Drop your opinion at the comment section below. Otherwise, thank you so much because of your great support. Please consider subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing this video. Bye-bye till we meet in another video.